So many people are saying the new Rick and Morty feels like season 1 again, in a good way and a bad way, but what could it be? It's because he's hammered all the time, that's why. And I can prove it, I did the math.
I can prove it mathematically. Actually, let me grab my whiteboard. This has been a long time coming anyway.
Welcome back to Nonsense, I'm Chris, and I went episode by episode for the entire series to account for Rick's drunken screen time, and to be clear, I had two rules for this. First was that he had to be in the current scene while drunk, so if he's drunk and talking to Morty in the garage, but the camera cuts to a close-up of Morty or something, it still counts as on-screen drunk time, but if we cut to the family inside or somewhere else, the timer stops. My second rule was that he had to be properly hammered. Rick is an alcoholic, so he has what alcoholics would refer to as a baseline drunk, like to feel normal. The amount that he almost always is. A little above that is comfortable, a lot above that is tipsy, and a concerning amount of heavy drinking later we have hammered. In order for me to count it, he has to be actually hammered, struggling to stand or speak normally. But again, for the episodes where he has no drunk time, he was still drinking the whole time, like constantly pulling out his flask at least. But he wasn't ever hammered. Okay, with the rules set, the results. Every season with at least a minute of total drunk time, even if it's sprinkled throughout the season, is rated somewhere in the 8s. The higher the drunk time, the higher the rating. But in seasons with little to no drunk time, the ratings take a sharp dip. And yes, I do understand that correlation does not equal causation, but it's the only measurable factor I've been able to come up with for why so many people on both sides of liking and hating this season keep using early seasons in their descriptions, whether for good or for bad. The fascinating thing, though, is that if you go episode by episode, the drunk episodes overall perform worse than the average episodes. 8.2 for drunk episodes compared to 8.4 overall. But seasons that contain more drunk time perform better. It kind of makes me wonder if seeing a drunk Rick stumbling around almost acts as like a palate cleanser, so the next serious episode hits harder. But so far this season is outperforming seasons 4 through 8, the weakest seasons. Everyone loves seasons 1 to 3, and yeah, ratings wise, it really does seem like a return to form. I agree it feels old school as well, and I honestly do think drunk Rick really contributes a lot to that, but it's definitely not the only factor. By far the most important factor in any specific episode's rating is whether or not Evil Morty appears in it. The average episode of Rick and Morty currently sits at 8.4. The average episode featuring Evil Morty is 9.3. And we started strong with an Evil Morty episode for the first time ever in the series, earning a very strong opening performance, followed by a damn near equally strong second episode that included quite a bit of drunk time. Last week took a minor dip ratings-wise, but to be clear, compared to the bad episodes, it still performed well. But I will say that the premiere with Evil Morty was one of the weaker Evil Morty episodes ratings-wise. I personally enjoyed it just as much as any Evil Morty episode, and the drop is probably attributed to the group frustrated that Evil Morty was, I hate this word, but simping, I guess, is the word people are using online, for C-137, which I just want to analyze this for a moment, which yes, I know it's nonsense, but check the channel name. Simping, from my understanding as someone who's been happily married for as long as it's been a slang term, basically means demeaning yourself in the level of devotion you show someone you're interested in who's not interested in you. According to Google, it means showing excessive, fawning devotion to someone, typically in hopes of securing a relationship or affection that isn't being reciprocated, but really by any definition I've heard, threatening to kill someone's family across the multiverse, even if you don't intend to do it, could not possibly be interpreted as simping. I mean, what the heck are we talking about here? He says,
"You're gonna watch me kill him."
How is that simping? You know what? Let's move on. Because another interesting thing about the ratings is that while the Evil Morty episode had a weaker than typical performance, though still stronger than the overall average, the drunk episode performed much better than the average drunk episode usually does, almost as strong as the Evil Morty episode did, which is interesting. After Evil Morty as the top ratings factor, though, is whether or not the episode is in general a canon episode, which on average puts it at 9.1, which kind of makes you wonder why they don't make every episode a canon or Evil Morty episode, but honestly I don't think that would increase average ratings in the end. I think they do just the right amount of canon content. Like I said in my season premiere breakdown though, this might be the first season with an Evil Morty double dip. I would assume for the season finale, we otherwise wouldn't be seeing Evil Morty again for almost 2 full seasons, since they don't do him on even numbered seasons. It wouldn't be the first first time they double dipped on canon episodes though, they did that in season 3, but they've never done 2 EM episodes in one season. I think a really interesting direction they could go is have him actually come out of the system, like the time prison system, reformed. Like he actually spent centuries in there, maybe he looks older and the time away from the toxic Rick and Morty dynamic helped him see clearer. It'd make for a great villain backstory, kind of like Thanos style. He sets out to destroy the central finite curve because he sees things a certain way and thinks he's doing the right thing. I mean, they've really been hammering home this season that Rick and Morty are toxic for each other. The way Reese shuts off in episode 4 is obviously indicating that his code doesn't know what to do because they are hurting each other. It just feels like they're putting in a lot of legwork this season to set the table, so to speak. And I really hope they don't set this stuff up and make us wait basically 2 years to see it all pay off. Not that we won't be watching, because we will. Honestly though, I'd be happy if they just make this the second season that double dips on canon episodes, even if it's not another Evil Morty episode. And another canon episode all but guarantees a higher rating, which would mean half the season would have performed at seasons 1 through 3 levels. But aside from the numbers, there's one other major factor in making this season feel more old school. Rick is not in full control. More recent seasons have leaned into the vibe of Rick basically being a god and always in control, but the series premiere had him running from some weak-ass aliens. Episode 2, he has to run from a monster. 3, he struggles to figure out how to save Morty. 4, the aliens just fully have their way with him. And basically 80% of the episodes in seasons 1 to 3 are kind of like this. Rick usually wins, but it does feel like he's having to actually struggle a little against even regular-ish enemies. But particularly starting in like season 6, getting much stronger in season 7 and more so in 8, Rick starts feeling more invincible. Not saying those seasons don't put him in situations where he wasn't out of his depth in some way, just that they didn't do a whole season straight of Rick having to at least try in every episode. I also want to dispute this really popular fan theory, which I love, and I want to be clear, I love the theory, it's really fun, which is that episode 1, the series premiere, and now this one, are actually following Evil Morty before he took control of his Rick. But unfortunately guys, we have seen his home dimension and it was slightly different. The easiest difference to spot is the green lamp, ours is orange, and his Rick's shelf also had different content. He also literally says,
"Our relationship is unique in the multiverse,"
which they've done no work to establish that that was true between Evil Morty and his Rick, whereas they've done a lot to set that up for C-137 and our Morty. Now I know people can come up with ad hoc explanations for basically anything, so they can still believe what they want to believe, so feel free to argue that maybe they changed the lamp at some point and the shelf contents, or Morty switched Ricks despite the fact he felt the need to erase his original dimension from the database, or any other argument you want to make. I get it. Fans' headcanon will be what it will be, but just know there is evidence that you're wrong and none that you're right. I think a far more interesting direction would be having moments like this
I'm gonna kill you. I'll kill you!
be our Morty's, Morty Prime's, origin story, basically. Rather than trying to recontextualize entire episodes based on nothing, look at what we're already seeing, which is the toxic relationship that's always been there between C-137 and Prime.
Gotta get out of here.
You're tugging me too
I got
hard.
some ice. Well, I remember you as a whiny little piece of shit, Morty.
I fucking knew it, you piece of shit. You're a fucking asshole, Rick. All right, Rick.
You little son of a
What are you
bitch.
doing, Rick?
What the hell? Oh shit, how long was I out?
Now listen to me, you stupid old man.
I mean, I'm wondering more and more these days why it is that C-137 feels so tied to Morty Prime. I know he destroyed his original dimension, but it's not like he took at least Beth, usually his favorite, on his way out, just Morty Prime. And he even says,
And you know, it would go without saying that the Rickest Rick would have the Mortiest Morty.
which actually, if you think about it, would mean like the weakest Morty technically, since they're kind of known for their weakness. But that's not what he means. He's trying to pump Morty up. It's just clear though that there is something unique about Morty Prime. And I'm far more interested in where these moments are pushing Morty than I am in trying to force an explanation for why this is actually Evil Morty's Rick. All that being said, this is definitely, at least in my opinion, the strongest first 4 episodes, at least since the end of season 3, and there's an argument to be made that it's at least on par with seasons 1 to 3 so far. 2 and 3's perform better, but season 1's first 4 episodes average out to the same ratings that the first 4 of season 9 9 do so far. So let's just hope they can keep this momentum going and that they didn't just front load all the good ones. Either way, I'll be waiting up at 11:30 p.m. every Sunday recording the new episodes and working the next 10 to 20 hours straight until the breakdowns are posted. So if you don't want to miss them, please subscribe. If you've got any theories I've missed, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.
To get riggedy wrecked, son!